Hey folks, welcome back to an update on my indie game in progress, Headhunters, which is a high-stakes shooter like Escape from Tarkov, but top-down and 2D, and one in which you could play as multiple characters at once, controlling them as a sort of little squad in a post-apocalyptic wasteland infested with demons. That is essentially this game in a nutshell, Headhunters. And if you saw the last video, you saw this awesome new title screen, which I was working on with some support from our friends at Fiverr. And the big new feature of this update is you can now control multiple people at once. So I've got some, well, apparently copyright-free music on YouTube, but you never really know though. So I'm playing that right now in the background. Maybe you could hear it a little bit. Hopefully it's not too loud. And because this game doesn't have audio yet. And the plan is I'm just going to walk you through a little bit of what this game is about right now, and then I'm going to show you my roadmap for what's coming next. Really excited about it. We are just passing 1,000 hours right now. I'll show you that later, but this is my my work log here. It looks like we're at 1,003 hours right now, and we'll talk about that breakdown in just a second. But it feels like just recently I was given the 500-hour update, so a lot has happened in that time. And the first thing is probably immediately apparent. There's completely new UI, and the whole visuals of the game have changed a lot, I guess, with the UI. And the thing that I want to bring your attention towards is this top left area right here, which shows your current crew. So right now I've got 3 guys in my crew, and I can bring that down to 2 or maybe back up to 3, whatever it needs to be. And these are the people who are sort of on my army who are going to go with me into battle. So if this was Escape from Tarkov, we're going to go into raid, I might bring 2 people. And again, you know, this is a little bit different from Escape from Tarkov, because if one of them dies, I lose them. They are a resource, just like any of the guns or the ammo you might bring in. And so, you know, if you've got like a 5-star guy and he gets lost, then, you know, that could be kind of a very painful day. But again, this game is going to rely on those sort of high-risk, high-reward moments that games like Escape from Tarkov really, well, they flourish on, right? That's one of the best parts about playing that game. So I'm just going to jump into a quick game here. We should be auto-paired with some bots, hopefully. If not, I guess we'll just run around alone. Let me see if I can just skip the search period. And I figured yeah, okay, so here's some bots who are joining me. And that's another thing I don't talk about enough, is that my cord... Sorry about that, my music just cut out. That's another thing I don't talk about enough, which is that not only do we have to sort of have the PvP experience, we've got to have a working single-player experience, I also need to get, you know, bots that work in this game as well. So right now, this is the spawn selection screen. There's going to be a lot more that happens at this stage in the game, but right now it's just choosing where you're going to spawn. So we're going to drop down a spawn right there. I'm in the house. I've got my ally there, represented by the shield. And the cool new thing is I can go over here and switch to him. So I can kind of switch between any of these guys in the middle of the game, as long as they're alive. And soon enough, I just did a playtest with my friend Ryan. He said, you know, I really wish I could give him commands. Soon enough, you're going to be able to give these guys commands so you can tell them what they want to do. And look at that. My AI actually just killed this guy. So he killed one of the bots. And look, there's another bot coming in through the window there, and we took him out. So the other bot was paying attention, and he was watching that window. And we won 2-0. Not bad for the first game of the evening. So let me make that a little bit smaller, and then... oh, what should we talk about? Maybe what I've done so far, or what we're going to do? Maybe we'll just recap what's been done so far. So that's the game in a nutshell. That's the big new feature, that you can kind of switch between these 2 players. Previously, the AI was always AI, and you were the controller. So now that you could switch between it, and the AI kind of seamlessly takes control of the character who you're no longer controlling, it feels great. It took a long time to get there, though. And here's what the project work has been like overall. So 1,000 hours, where has it gone? Well, it looks like over maybe 140 hours, we're just on Photon. Photon is the networking portion of the game. So you may have heard this before. I've said it certainly before, and I'll say it again. Making multiplayer games is one of the hardest things you can do as a indie game dev. right? I mean, honestly, it's one of the hardest kind of games you could make in general. People say, what's the hardest kind of game overall? It's a massively multiplayer online RPG. MMORPGs are without a doubt the hardest kind of game you could make for a number of reasons. And one portion of that is certainly that they're networked, which is very difficult. It's hard to do programming in a networked environment, and so it takes a lot of time. I'm so grateful that Unity has this great plugin called Photon, which has helped simplify that a lot. But even then, it takes a lot of time to handle all these different edge cases about people leaving the lobby and entering and disconnecting and server packet loss, all that shit. It's just a lot of work. So Photon remains sort of the number one amount of, number one bucket of my time. Let's zoom in a little bit just to the last 30 days. The last 30 days have been, oh, look at that, exactly 100 hours. And in those 100 hours, just about half have been on multi-team, which is sort of the big new feature that I've been talking about, where you can have 2 pawns on a single team and switch between them. Second to that, we've also had a big settings refactor, which is not very interesting to talk about, but it's something that had to be done. It was just part of the code maintenance, and what this allows me to do is basically, it allows me to change settings that only persist within the duration of a single play session, and then after that play session ends, the settings go back to normal. And the reason why I need to do that is I might want to say, hey, I'm just trying to test this one section of the game, skip me ahead all the way until that section, then let me play that section, and then undo the skip, so that if I play it again, I don't skip ahead. This is really important whenever you're building a game that has any amount of complexity. You want to be able to jump past all the complex parts and just get to the particular part you're trying to test, you're trying to work on. And so that was important because I needed to constantly skip through all the menus in order to get in the game to test what it would be like to switch between 2 players on the same team. So that's what that change allowed me to do. And then I'd say the other big thing that took me some time was an ammo manager refactor, which, long story short, just allowed me to, basically, when you're playing the game, when you're inside one of the game sessions, the ammo that's displayed on the screen was previously shared by the different characters who were playing. But now, if your partner shoots the gun, you don't see a loss of ammo. You only see the ammo update if you're shooting. Likewise, if you use half the clip, and then you switch to him, and he used only 4 bullets, you'll see, however many bullets there are minus 4, so it will show his amount of ammo, as you would expect. I mean, a lot of these things are like, oh, of course, it should just work that way, but sometimes you forget that as the game developer, you really do have to painstakingly code every last piece of the game in order to make it all fit together. So, that is essentially what's added up to 1,000 hours, and that's been the last 500, I guess, that I've been working on. I'd say on a really good week that I spend a lot of time on this game, I get maybe 2 hours of development a day on a weekday. So, I wrap up work around 6:30 p.m. or 7 p.m. Eastern time. Then dinner, a social life, and I would say maybe I can squeeze in 2 hours, maybe 10 to midnight or midnight to 1 a.m., depending on how late I'm trying to stay up. But here's the ammo display on the bottom right here. You can see that basically it goes down when I shoot, as you would expect, right? So it looks like my partner has died in this game. I can see his skull over here. So he died somewhere on the far right. I wonder if I might go around the house and see if he's... Yep, look at this. The two AI were over there. Oh, and I think he must have died. I must have shot him somehow. I definitely killed the first one. They were looking the wrong way, so I got a good surprise on them. But I don't know how I killed that second guy. That was a little weird. So anyways, 2 hours, I should say, on a weekday. So that adds to about 10 hours, right? 2 times 5. And then on the weekend, you've got 2 more days. And on a good week, like I was saying, you can get maybe 5 hours each of those weekend days. So all in all, that's 2 times 5 plus 5 times 2 comes to about 20 hours that I can get in a working week. About 20 hours I can get each week on this game done. Again, that's on a really good week. Usually it's less than that, maybe 10. Somewhere between 10 and 20. But gradually, we're moving along, you know. Obviously, it's very slow being a hobbyist developer, but that's just, you know, I'm a little envious when I see another YouTuber and it's like, oh, I just make games full time. It's like, shit, man, that's awesome. But I think for most of us, we have something else that pays the bills. And I'm fortunate enough to say I do games on both sides, you know. You know, the tough thing about being in a AAA game dev environment is you've got crunch periods that come up sometimes as well. So in particular, I could speak to when I was working on Call of Duty, whenever a new update would come out for Warzone, you know, I might have to crunch pretty bad in order to get that stuff out the door. I remember in particular, the biggest feature I worked on was I did almost all of the Christmas events for this past year. And yeah, it was a lot of effort. Oh, he shot me through the window. That took a lot of time. So when, you know, right now, I can't speak to the current project too much, but basically it isn't that demanding, but at a different stage in time, it might become very demanding. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to show you was the roadmap for the future, because that's what people have been asking me, basically, when can I play this game? I've been doing small play tests as I sort of refine what I'm trying to do here, but for the most part, unfortunately, the answer is it's going to take a while before it's playable. So here's my rough roadmap. Let me see how big I can make this on the screen. Okay, so I've broken this roadmap into three, is it three? Yeah, about three sections. The vertical slice, also known as VS, the alpha, and the beta. So the vertical slice is basically an early preview of the game. It is a release on Steam that will include basically the bare minimum of the game mechanics. So basically the ability to shoot people, to loot people, and to summon demons. Okay, that's basically the core loop of the game. If I can get that represented, then I'll be happy. In order to make that happen, there's a few things I still need to do before I get this game onto Steam. The first thing is I want to extend the multi-pawn work that I've done so far. Right now there's a cap of 4 pawns per team, and that's already been a little bit of a pain during testing because I just had like 4 people playing with me, and we couldn't get everybody into the lobby because there's just such a low player max. So I'm going to increase that max pretty high. And the test map we're playing on, the house map, this map right here that we've been playing on, it's really not designed for 8v8. 16 players is way too many for that map. But for testing purposes, that's fine. So I need to bump that up. The next thing I want to do is the ability to hotkey pawn selection, which is going to be an important engineering work. Basically, right now you have to click on the pawn when you want to change. But eventually I'm going to make it so that you can hover over a pawn, push 1, and then whenever you push 1, you'll switch to that pawn. Similar to how the hotkey mechanics work at Escape from Tarkov, I think that game actually did that very well, and I'd like to copy basically what they did. That's going to be important too, because eventually you're going to be able to hotkey any item in your inventory. So, you know, you might want to say, oh, grenades are going to be 6. So whenever I push 6, I pull out my grenade. That work that I do for this feature is going to apply to that eventually as well. The next stage is adding more skins, and I'm excited about that because right now I've just been seeing the same sort of 4 skins constantly in the game, and I'm excited to expand that so that you'll be able to play as a lot of different characters. I'm getting a lot of those assets from the Unity Asset Store, which is allowing me to sort of launch with like a ton of skins, which I'm really excited about. Unfortunately, I'm not really a good artist, a 3D artist. So if it wasn't for the 3D Asset Store, this game would not look nearly as good as it's going to. And really, we're just getting started. Okay, so it looks like my teammate has died up here. Let's see if we can find where his killer is. Doesn't seem to be in the house. There's somebody. Okay. And I got him. Okay, so, and yeah, it looks like my teammate actually successfully defeated the other enemy. So that means we win. Both of the enemies have been slain. Awesome. So let's jump back to the roadmap. I talked about adding the additional skins, and I was speaking earlier about the inventory system. Right now, there isn't an inventory. You just have the main gun that you're using and infinite ammo. So eventually, I'm going to change that, and that needs to be done by the vertical slice. Additionally, I need to have healing, because right now there's no way to heal when you get injured. So little things like maybe a med pack or something of that nature. Actually, it's a little bit more complicated than that. I don't know how deep I'll go into it right now, but basically the currency in this game is going to be blood. And blood is also how you heal yourself. So there's going to be a really nice relationship then between what it means to be a Chad, going in with like the most health that you can have, is going to also be coming in with as much loot as you can have, right? Because, sometimes in like Escape from Tarkov, there isn't a perfect balance between, super Chad loadout versus how much money you could make by killing that guy. And though it should be, right? It really should be a 1-to-1 where basically he's got the best gun in the game. It should be the most expensive gun in the game. In this situation, it'd be like, oh, he's going to come in with maybe twice the amount of HP that I have. Well, if I kill him, I get twice the amount of money. So it's just basically another way, by adding this sort of blood is money mechanic, and blood is HP, it's a really nice mapping onto this sort of risk-reward relationship that I'm planning to pursue for this game. So I'll talk more about that at a later time. It's pretty far ahead of us. I don't think I'll get to that for like at least a month. The next thing is zombie AI. So a big part of Escape from Tarkov is looting, and I think it's kind of boring. Looting is not going to be a big part of this game, which sets it apart from maybe games like Tarkov or DayZ. A lot of these games, looting is sort of like the main thing. Instead, the main loop of this game is not going to be looting, but fighting zombies. So there's going to be a lot of zombies on the map, and your primary goal, pretty much your main quest, is going to be to take out these zombies, who will drop little loot, right? But you're not going to be going to, like, I'm thinking of an example from Escape from Tarkov. You're not going to be going to, like, somebody's shed and looking through their toolbox. Nothing like that. It's going to be, you're knocking out zombies, and then you're picking up whatever loot they drop. It's going to be combat first. And I think that's important because having the player shoot NPCs is one of the best ways in order for them to make noise on the map. And when it comes to a map where you have limited visibility, especially like this, or I mean, in Escape from Tarkov 2, a big part of the game is trying to figure out where is the enemy. It's always a good idea to try and incentivize the players to make a little bit of noise, because that will allow the enemies to find them, and then you can have engaging gameplay where, they're fighting each other. But, I mean, of course, maybe there'll be a way to silently kill a zombie with a knife or something. I don't know. We'll explore that when we get to it. Okay, the other things that are necessary for the vertical slice are basic quests. So, for example, you go into a map, gotta kill 3 zombies in order to get a certain reward. Maybe it's blood, maybe it's dollar bills, we'll see. And then, finally, additional guns and equipment. So right now, again, there's just one gun, but I'm going to add a bunch more before we get to the vertical slice. And that's it. That's the vertical slice. That's when we're going to launch on Steam. So when, in a early, early access mode, that's when we'll get to Steam. So I think that'll take probably, oh gosh, I'm not too sure. Probably like maybe 3 more months? I don't know. It's total guess right now. So I don't have a working schedule. It's kind of done when it's done. And it being my hobby, if I want to spend another month on something because I think it's fun, then I will, right? So there's really no deadlines right now for me, which is probably going to stay that way, honestly. So that's the VS, and then let's talk about the alpha. So the big changes about the alpha is it's going to start turning into an actual game. The VS is a little bit more like a demo. In the alpha, we're going to add a partial story. You're also going to have the ability to play as a demon. So in Escape from Tarkov, you can kind of play as sort of a loser, which is called a scav, and you go in with like a really shitty gun and shitty equipment, and you might get some money and bring it for your main dude. It's going to be a little bit like that, but in another sense, it's going to be the opposite. Whereas instead of going in as a little loser, you're going to go in as a badass. You're going to go in as a demon. So in this game, basically, you play as a demon who is possessing these humans and controlling them on the battlefield. Well, you have the option also to go in as that demon and fight other humans in mano a mano, right? You can just take out the claws and start swiping at them, if you know what I mean. So if you choose to go in as a demon, it's not going to feel like a scav does in Tarkov. You're not going to feel like a little bitch. You're going to feel like a badass. It's going to feel a lot more like in Left 4 Dead, where you have one player playing as the tank and potentially soloing a full team of humans. That's the feel I'm going for. You're going to feel really powerful when you choose to go in as a demon. But, of course, that is the main way that you would get resources if you run out for some reason, or you don't want to use your soldiers. Just like in Escape from Tarkov, you might use the scav if you run out of money as a PMC, or you just don't want to use your main character. Okay, so that covers the demon gameplay. The next one is raid timers. So right now there's no timer for the game. It just ends when people are dead, but there will be a timer for the game because it's not going to be a... well, it's going to be something called a persistent session, which means that people can join the game, and then they can leave, and then other people can join, like, that game that was mid-progress. So you might join the game and see, like, some dead bodies on the ground, right? Eventually that will occur. I don't think it's slated for alpha. Oh, no, it is, actually. So this is the raid joins. So basically, that's slated for alpha. So when that happens, you need to have a time for it to end, right? Otherwise, if people are just constantly sharing the same lobby, the bodies are going to just pile up, right? So a single session needs to end at some point. And that is going to be done through a raid timer, just like Escape from Tarkov does it. And what's going to change a little bit is that when the raid timer starts ticking down, it's basically ticking to dawn, right? The game starts at dusk, and you inhabit the night until dawn comes. And when dawn comes, the angels come out. And angels in this game are like the baddest thing that's going to be in this game. They're going to be super powerful, super evil. Maybe if they just touch you, you die. I think that could be pretty interesting. And so angels will eventually start appearing when the dawn creeps in, and they're going to start inhabiting the map and fucking with you if you stick around that long. So that is a big feature that's going to come in the alpha. And then some other main things are overall in-app purchases. So this game is going to be free to play on mobile, and that's going to mean that, well, how are you going to make money, right? Well, there's going to be ads. There's going to be watch to earn, and there's also going to be in-app purchases that you could buy. So I wouldn't say that it's going to be pay to win, but it's definitely going to be pay to, let's say, win a little bit more often. You're going to be able to buy some buffs that are going to improve your character in the game. But, of course, it's always a careful balance there, and it's something I'm going to have to very finely tune because... well, I don't want people to feel like it's cheap. I don't want them to feel like, oh, if I don't pay money, then there's no way for me to win. Just like in Escape from Tarkov, if you could buy, some rubles, it probably wouldn't make a difference for some players, right? Because they could just farm those rubles. You got to find kind of where that sweet spot is. Just like in Escape from Tarkov, if you could, every game, load in with a P.A.K.A., well, most players aren't going in with a you might not know what Escape from Tarkov is, so let me just explain this. If in Escape from Tarkov, every time you go into a raid, you could come in with level 1 armor, most players wouldn't, because level 1 armor isn't very good, right? But that is potentially something that you could sell, right? So we have to explore this, right? And obviously, I know it's a touchy subject, and it's something that is going to take a lot of time, but that's an example of like what an in-app purchase might be. Obviously, that needs a lot of work, but I'm starting to think about how that's going to fit into my game, because at the end of the day, if people don't pay money, you don't make money, right? That's just how it goes. So that's what I have in mind for that. That's going to be a lot of work, obviously, and also Playfab integration, which is basically just tracks progress, achievements, stuff like that. And we're going to get some new maps. So the demo, the VS, is only going to launch with the house. I don't think I'm even going to bother adding new maps until alpha. But when we get to alpha, we're going to hit them hard with 3 new maps, which are going to be much larger than the house, so I'm excited about that. And then finally, we have the beta. So, the beta is the final version, or I guess I should say that. This is the final version before the full release. And it is going to include the full story, finalized UI, art, and gameplay. I might do full story, actually, wait till the full release, I'm not sure. But it's going to be probably almost the full story. We're going to have finalized art and gameplay. We're going to have translations, and also this is where voice acting is going to come in. A lot of the sound design is probably going to come in the alpha, maybe some in the vertical slice. I'm not sure, because sound design is important, but it also verges on polish, because you usually don't... Well, let's just say that for the amount of time that I'm going to invest in it, I'm probably not going to have like a full sound beta pass. Like, I'm probably going to add sounds, and those are probably going to stay till the end of the game. I'm probably not going to iterate on sounds too much, but of course, we'll see. And then the other thing is there's going to be the wipe mechanic. So this is a big deal. and is probably the biggest feature that's going to be included in the beta versus any of the previous iterations. What is the wipe mechanic? Well, in Escape from Tarkov, every X amount of months, the game completely resets, and you lose all your progress, and you start again from the beginning. This is a contentious design decision. Not everybody likes it. I know Modern Warfare 2, I think, is trying something like that. I believe it's called the Seasonal Prestige, where basically they reset you every season. And that community really is not receiving it too well. It seems like they don't like that too much. But in Tarkov, people love it because it really does it helps keep the game fresh, and it helps when you kind of restart from zero. I can think of this no better exemplified than in the mobile game Adventure Capitalist, where you prestige, basically, and it affects the gameplay. It's a little bit different on the second time around, because you've earned some things that you're going to keep. But you get to go through the loop again, and now you're way smarter, right? You know maybe how you're going to approach it a little bit differently. In Escape from Tarkov, that's not quite the case. Nothing changes when you prestige, right? When the season resets, you start again exactly from zero. In Adventure Capitalist, you start from zero, but you've got a little bit of a buff. In this game, which is it going to be? Full zero, or are you going to get a little bit of a buff? In this game, you're going to get a little bit of a buff. It's not going to be like Tarkov, where you start completely from scratch. And that buff will be directly related to what you did in the previous season. One example is, if in the previous season you completed a blood sacrifice, where you kill one of your soldiers, he will get reincarnated in the next season for you to play with again. So there's a way for you to kind of keep some of the elements from your previous season in your next season. But again, there's a lot to unpack here, and it would take way more than this video, but this video is already almost half an hour. So I don't want to go into any more details. I think I've summarized it enough. Those are basically the main stages of this game, all subject to change. There's a lot of work that still needs to go into this baby, but I'm excited to present to you what I have so far. The Multipawn stuff was a big deal to get done, but of course, there's a lot more to look forward to. So I hope you join me on that adventure. Hit subscribe for now. Eventually, I'll ask for you to wishlist the game on Steam, but that's way in the future. So for now, if you could hit subscribe, hit like if you enjoyed the video. And if you have any questions or some tips, maybe have advice on how you think this game concept could be improved right now, I would really appreciate it, because I am just at the earliest stages right now. I know it's like I'm 1,000 hours in. Well, damn it, video games take a long time to make. But even though I'm only in the beginning, right, there's still a lot more to do. And there's a lot more changes that I can make as the game progresses, right? Maybe some of these things are going to be totally different. The truth is, I've had a lot of the game in my mind for, at this point, years. So I've kind of imagined it a little bit. And there's a lot more parts I haven't explained that I have already in my mind, that I've already thought of. So maybe it's just, if I could snap my fingers and have what I have in my mind built, then wouldn't that be wonderful, right? But it's going to take a while to get there. And over time, I'll change my opinions. I'll change my ideas as I see what works in the environment, etc. All right, well, I think that's all I have time for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.